What's up guys, it's Andrew at EliteGamingHQ, and holy shit, I'm back. You know, I took a little time off, got burned out, had a lot of things going on in life, but I'm back with a new video today, and I wanted to come back strong, so here we are testing Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Today's test will be with a GTX 1080 and an RTX 2080. I figured this would be a good test to do. I'll put in extra work to test with both cards so we can compare some numbers, so stay tuned. Alright, so what we're going to do here is we're going to test 3 different resolutions with 3 different game presets with 2 different cards. We're going to look at the average, the minimum, and the max, and we're going to try to determine, for one, how optimized this game is, and also how much of a benefit you're getting by forking out the money for the RTX 2080. So first I want to say, if you're new, sub and turn on those notifications. Let me know in the comments below that you're part of our notification squad. I'll also put links in the first comment to our Discord, maybe my Instagram, so you can see some computer builds that I've done and some other socials. Now this test we're going to do is going to basically show you presets, so from that information you can get a good idea of solid numbers compared to these 2 cards. Now if you want a video that's more of what you should change on the optimization part to get your 60 or your 100 FPS, or even with a little more budget cards, you got to check out my buddy's channel, Santiago. He really breaks everything down, and we're simultaneously releasing these videos during the same day. So he has a completely different outlook of how he does these benchmarks, and mine is more solid numbers, whereas his is more optimization. So let's talk about how we're going to do the test methodology. So I do have to note there is an in-game benchmark. We'll bring that back up in a little bit. But how I'm going to do this test is I'm going to run fraps. The game still allows fraps, so it's a good tool to have. With fraps, I'll set a specific time. I like to do 300 seconds. 5 minutes seems to be a good time, and then I'll replay the same mission or the same area over and over again to replicate the same hitches and everything to get an idea of actual gameplay. But today the test system is my Nuka-Cola Ryzen system. We are equipped with a R7 2700X, overclocked to 4.2 GHz, 16 GB of Gskill Trident 3000 RAM. Obviously, the 2 video cards that we're testing, the CPU is being cooled by a Kracken X62 all-in-one liquid cooled loop, and the game is installed to a Samsung EVO 960 SSD. I made sure I wasn't recording any gameplay while I was bench testing, so this way that wouldn't interfere with any of our numbers. And the presets I chose to use was low, of course, and then their medium, they're calling it high, which is the middle of the road, and then their highest preset is ultra high. So those are the 3 we're going to use. Now about the in-game benchmark. I ran the in-game benchmark, and it has the problem that I feel that a lot of in-game benchmarks have, whereas it's more intensive and it's more of a test than actual gameplay. The situations that happen in these in-game benchmarks may never happen in an actual game, and also if they do, they're in a small section. You want to play a mission or see how a game runs that you're actually going to be playing 90 to 99% of the time, not a crazy point in the game that you may run into 1% of the time. And that's the problem with these in-game benchmarks. I feel like they give you false numbers and give you an unreasonable expectation on the lower side of what the performance of your video card is going to do during the overall gameplay of the game. So that's why I choose not to use them. Although I did mess around a little bit just to show what it can do. One thing I like about this game is it also shows you directly how much video RAM you're going to need, which is a nice touch. Alright, first let's look at our tests in our 1080p, and we'll go to low first. The GTX 1080 on 1080p got an average of 111 FPS, a minimum of 83, and a max of 137. 1080p low for the RTX 2080 was an average of 129, a minimum of 96, and a max of 146. Not a big difference, but it's there. Now let's test our high, or as I should call it, medium, because it is the middle preset, but they're calling it high. We have an average of 1080p with the GTX 1080 for 87, a minimum of 67, and a max of 112. With the same preset, moving on to the RTX 2080, we got 100 average, minimum 69, and max of 140. In this preset, we really took a hit on the minimum. We're getting close to pushing 60 FPS. Not so good. But let's go to their ultra high, or ultra as most people would call it. With the GTX 1080, we got an average of 74, a minimum of 58, and a max of 90. With the RTX, we got an average of 85, a minimum of 61, and a max of 108. Now my comment on these numbers is we are in 1080p, okay? And we have these expensive video cards, and we're getting close, if not dropping down to our minimum of 60 FPS. Now to be said, if we locked at 60 FPS, because the game does have an in-game lock, we could be fine at 60 FPS, no problem. But these cards are so high end, to see our minimums dropping down that low, even though it's only a hitch here and there, kinda worries me. But we're going to move on to 1440p. And honestly, in this game, 1440p low, to me, looks better than their high preset on 1080p. So with the GTX on 1440p, we got an average of 89, a minimum of 72, and a max of 108. On the RTX, we got an average of 98, a minimum of 85, and a max of 113. I don't know what it is about this low preset, but all the numbers seem to be very close in the low preset. But let's move on to their high. With the GTX 1080, we got an average of 65, a minimum of 55, and a 94 at a max. With the RTX, we got an average of 82, a minimum of 54, and a max of 97. So in 1440p medium basically, with an RTX 2080, I'm dropping below 60 FPS. Let's move on to ultra high. With the GTX, I got a 54 on average, a 47 on minimum, and a max of 64. On the RTX, I got an average of 64, a minimum of 52, and a max of 67. Okay, so the game looks amazing. The reflections are amazing, the water is amazing, the draw distance is pretty good. But the thing is, it seems to be a very tough game to run, but that is AAA new titles, right? But if you look here, when I did some testing in low, I wanted to see where my CPU and my GPU were at. They're pretty similar. So I feel like the game is utilizing CPU and GPU at a pretty equal rate, but there's more to be said about optimization and struggles with the engine of the game that are kind of maybe holding this back. Now, if you remember back to Assassin's Creed Origins, it was an anti-piracy thing that actually made the game run shitty. And a lot of people were telling me that if they actually downloaded it after it was cracked on like a torrent somewhere, that the game would run better than it did if you actually bought it from Ubisoft. I don't know if that's the case with this game. I have not researched it yet. I literally got it today and started testing it, and these are the numbers that I got. But that being said, let's move on to our final resolution. Now, the thing about this resolution, I hope this doesn't upset you guys, but my 4K panel stopped receiving video from HDMI and DVI. But the resolution that I actually play on is something I wanted to use to test, which is 3440 by 1440p, which is 21:9 ultra wide, a lot more strict than 1440p, and this is the way I choose to play. So at this point, this may not be a panel size that a lot of people have. I enjoy the ultra wide, the extra real estate that I have, but the good thing about it is it's also going to give us numbers to compare these two cards, and then we can make a final analysis of how this game runs between the two cards based on all the information we looked at so far. So in 3440 by 1440p low, the 1080 has an average of 78, a minimum of 65, and a max of 94. The RTX has an average of 96, a minimum of 66, and a max of 121. Moving on to high, we have an average of 54, a min of 48, and a max of 65 for the 1080. The RTX got an average of 70, a minimum of 51, and a max of 92. This seems to be the resolution and the setting that I'm going to be playing on, I guess. I'm going to lock the game in 60 and run it in high. And I feel like they're kind of tricking us by calling it high when really it's a medium. You have 5 presets. This one's in the middle. You're calling it high. When somebody goes and says, oh, I got 60 FPS on high, they think high. They don't think middle of the ground medium. But this is just my opinion. Lastly, we have ultra high, and that's going to be for the GTX 1080, 40 average, 33 minimum, max 50. For the RTX, an average of 54, a minimum of 44, and a max of 66. So in conclusion, my thoughts are, I'm kind of disappointed actually. I feel like I can't get a max setting of this game in 1440p ultra at least 60 FPS, and that kind of upsets me. Now, of course, NVIDIA is probably going to release drivers in a couple days that are going to maybe skew these numbers, but being my preferred resolution with a brand new $800 video card, I can't get 60 FPS on max. The game is beautiful, but there's also other beautiful games out there that run very good, if not better. So for me, I feel like it's kind of disappointing. The game's a tough game to run, and in fact, I'm probably going to use the Ingame Benchmark to test a lot of systems that I build on my channel and on my website because it's going to be so crippling. But head to head, we're seeing a 15 to 20% difference between the RTX and the GTX, which is kind of to be expected. They're very similar cards, and we're not really using the technology that the RTX grants at this point. Well, if you guys want a computer built, be sure to check out my website. That's EliteGamingHQ.net. I build computers in the United States, then I ship them all over. I have great feedback on the website and also my other social medias. And be sure to subscribe, hit the notification button, check out Santiago, and I'm back. Well, thanks for watching, guys. My name is Andrew. This is Elite Gaming HQ. Thanks, guys.